Okay, I have missed a weekly rotation, so this video is going to be a fortnightly rotation. I'm going to talk about very briefly, I don't want this to be a long video, but I'm going to talk about last week when I basically only wore new samples for the week. I'll talk about the two perfumes that I have worn for a week consecutively and just my other bottles that I've worn very briefly, usual stuff. But I'm kind of excited to talk about some of the new samples that I tried. But first, what I'll do is talk about the two perfumes I did wear for a whole week and just my observations, because these two are very favourite perfumes for me. So last week I wore Sartorial from Penhaligon's for the whole week. This still remains my favourite fougere style perfume. And this week I wore what I believe was, what was my favourite patchouli perfume, which is Patchouli Nobile from Nobile 1942. So I still enjoyed wearing these perfumes. What I did notice with these two, wearing them every day for a whole week, was that they very much just were the same each day. Unlike previous perfumes that I wore for the whole week, these two didn't really change each week. And I don't know if it was to do with the weather being kind of more stable at this time of the year. It's gotten cooler, a little bit colder. It's rained a bit, and like I didn't notice anything interesting or unusual about wearing them each day. And if anything, by the end of each week with these two perfumes, I was kind of glad that the week was over and I could wear something different. And it hasn't changed my opinion on Sartorial. It's still a great fougere, but it's definitely one that I could see myself, if I was that person who had a signature scent that pretty much wore the same perfume every day, I could see myself probably getting a little bit bored of wearing something like this every day. And the same with Patchouli Nobile. Now, a strong, dominant patchouli scent is not something I would consider as a daily driver, if you like. It's something to be enjoyed occasionally, like I do with this one. But what I have kind of come to the conclusion of is that this is no longer my favourite patchouli dominant perfume. I'm not thinking about getting rid of it or anything like that, but definitely more recently I've just fallen in love with Borneo 1834 from Serge Lutens. That is now my top tier patchouli. So interestingly, that's what happened when I wore those perfumes. Now, I'll briefly go through the bottles that I wore over the last 2 weeks, and you can see that it's definitely a case of the weather sort of looking more like my winter, because I went for some quite heavy, I guess, sort of one's a Chypre, a couple of ambers, Lagerfeld Classic. I got to say that when I was wearing this the other day, that this is one I can easily kind of overlook, and for some time I've held on to this more for, I guess, sentimental reasons, because it was the very first perfume that I ever owned way back when I was a teenager. And obviously it's not a vintage, this is the modern take, but I really still love wearing this, and I realised that it wasn't just the sentimental. I think this is a pretty unique cold weather perfume, like a very sparkly, spicy amber perfume. Then I wore Habanita from Molinard, which is kind of it definitely would be one I would struggle to wear every day for a week, but every time I do wear it, I just enjoy it so much. It's so luscious and enveloping, and I always feel strangely comforted by this when I wear it. And then the beautiful Rochas Femme. This is the more modern version. It's less cuminy, but I did. Someone noted to me on Instagram the other day that this particular version they can pick up Immortelle in it, and I had never thought about what I was smelling in this in great detail, other than that there is that fruity aspect, that the peach and the chypre base, but there is something that resembles Immortelle in this, and I think it's a big part of why I like it. I just never put one and one together and realised that I was smelling Immortelle, and now I can't not smell it. Okay, so to the samples, I basically introduced a bunch of new samples into the rotation, and I'm just going to talk about them in random order. The first one is called Alcove from Musk Milano. I was introduced to this at Exons in Milan. These are new releases, and this one and another perfume called Ribo are being released in a particular specific line. I can't remember exactly what the line is inspired by or represents, but these are significantly also pricier than your standard Musk Milano lines, but I really like Alcove. That one I enjoyed. It was another case of smelling it at the time and thinking it was really nice. And then even though I still liked it, wearing it this time around, I was less enthusiastic about it smelling it here in the safety and quiet of my own home. This one here is called Troubled Spirits by Libertine Perfumery. I had the pleasure of meeting Josh, the owner and the perfumer, while I was in Milan as well, and I got a discovery set of his perfumes, and this is the first one I tried. Also very much enjoyed. Another new brand to keep an eye out. This one is called Source by Valence. This is a brand new indie brand out of the UK, and the perfumer for this is Pierre Long, who's the perfumer and owner of Bougie Bougie and done other perfumes as well. And this one, Source, is one of 3 in the initial launch. And probably at this point in time, I chose this because on first impressions, this was my favourite one. Here we have Honey Body from Sid Botanica. Now, Sid is a perfumer. Her brand, Sid Botanica, is an small indie based in LA in the US. And at the moment, her distribution is only within the US. I think that's, there's a plan to get further distribution overseas. This one's Honey Body from her line. And if you like, it's interesting because what I will say about this one, even though it's called Honey Body, the honey doesn't jump out to me too much when I was wearing it on my skin, but it is a beautiful kind of unusual musky floral to my skin, and I'm looking forward to wearing this more as well and trying to sort of work it out in my head. The one misfire out of the samples that I tried, or actually there's a couple. This one is from Manos Gerakinis. This one's Imperial Malt. This is a new release for 2024. And this is a perfect example of looking at a note pyramid, and on paper, it would seem like something that would be nice to smell. I didn't really enjoy wearing this on my skin too much. I think this is definitely one that might be aimed at a particular demographic that enjoys kind of boozy, gourmand style perfumes with quite good projection as well. I just didn't love how this came off my skin and how it seems to be blended. I'm sure other people might like this type of thing, but I didn't love it that much. And the other one I didn't enjoy that much either wearing it at home is Amber Remastered by Brand No More. At the time when I smelled it at Exons, in that crowded atmosphere, smelling all the smells in the air, this seemed pretty good on a blotter to me. Wearing it for the first time on my skin as a proper scent of the day, I was pretty underwhelmed by what I was smelling, so that was a little bit of a disappointment. One that I did enjoy was Corsica Furiosa by Parfum d'Empire. Now, admittedly, I have tried this years ago. I couldn't actually remember. Like, if someone had asked me what does it smell like, I couldn't remember it. But once I tried it on again, it all came back to me, and I realized that I really did enjoy it. It's a really good take on a green perfume that has. I mean, it's a warmer weather style perfume to me. It's beautiful green grass notes in it, but it has like a more substantial base. I'm pretty sure there's a really nice iris note that runs beneath it, and I'm looking forward to wearing that, although it's probably suited more for warmer weather than the weather I'm about to get here. And the last three samples I want to talk about are a couple that I have tried before, but only sort of very briefly just, I have talked about Coromandel from Chanel before. I've done a video talking about it. Look, it is a beautiful perfume, admittedly. I still am not sure I love it enough for me to have a bottle of it, but I definitely understand why this is such a loved perfume, and definitely a perfume I enjoy smelling on other people. The other one is Night Clubbing from Celine. And that one I really wanted to test again because I had a small sample of it, and I remember enjoying it. And it was the only one that I really liked and thought was reasonably unique of the whole Celine line that I tried. Like, I think I had about 7 different Celine perfumes, and that one really stood out to me. So I'm looking forward to trying that one. But the one that did surprise me the most was another Celine perfume. And this is a newer release. This is called Cologne Celeste. And yes, it is definitely based on a cologne style, very much in the vibe of this legendary thing for 7-Eleven cologne, but different. And to my nose, definitely something I prefer to smell. Now, this is for another video. I'm going to actually do a comparison between these two perfumes and see how subjective it is to justify spending money on perfume, because we're talking about a whole bottle of this costing me less than $20 Australian, and sometimes you can get it cheaper, and a bottle of Cologne Celeste, which only comes in 250 ml. Celine only make it in the big bottle. And whether I would ever, and this is based on one where whether I would fall in love with this perfume enough to ever justify to myself spending that much money on a bottle of a cologne style perfume. Definitely something I would love to have a decant of, and this should see me through several wears. But it's interesting because I really, really enjoyed wearing this. But then, where does that kind of line get blurry where, you decide how much something means to you and what you're willing to spend, obviously within personal budgets. And finally, for my final scent of this week, I'm going to wear the lovely Épice by Miss Gail Parfum. And that's pretty much it. I'm sorry I have been slack with the videos, but I've covered the last 2 weeks. I'm caught up now. And obviously, if you've got any questions about any of the perfumes or comments on them, feel free to comment. It's good to be back, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.